Wait a minute. No, don't turn me into an oversimplified logo. Is it over? Am I done? Honestly, that wasn't so bad.
Alright, we're gonna clear this up before we get started. This is not the new logo for the Firefox browser. This is for the Firefox brand, the family of products of which the browser is a part of. Understood? If someone told you they killed the Firefox fox, you have been misinformed. They didn't kill the fox. He's fine. He's not dead. He's alive. They didn't turn him into an abstract Nike swoosh. Do any of you even use Firefox? So 2020 was a shit show, obviously. I mean, you all remember, you were there, it was only a year ago. You might remember 2024, the plague going around, the racial tensions reaching an all-time high as more police officers literally get away with murder, the election to get spray-tan Hitler out of office being impeded by the plague and spray-tan Hitler himself and his rabid cult supporters, and a lot of discourse surrounding minimalist logo design? So a lot of people started getting mad on the internet about how oversimplified logos are taking over the world or something. So as someone who's majoring in graphic design, this kinda got on my nerves, and it still does because this conversation comes up every time a company rebrands now. And I just have to start by saying that some of these rebrands really are awful, but minimalism isn't new and it's not always the reason why some of these get so awful. So get out your pencils and notebooks, cause I'm taking you all back to school. We're gonna learn about logo design. So you all know what a logo is. It's a graphic mark used to make a brand identifiable. But we're gonna go over the components of a logo because I'm gonna refer back to them a lot throughout the rest of the video. Most logos are usually, but not always, a combination of a word mark and a brand mark. The word mark is usually the company's name or shortened to an acronym if it's a mouthful, and the brand mark would be an actual symbol. They can be used separately, but together they arguably create the most versatile or responsive logos. Responsiveness is defined as how well a logo can adapt to changes in the medium and size it's presented in. It's arguably the most important quality a logo can have, especially in the digital age. If you have to represent your brand on phones, tablets, business cards, trucks, stamps, clocks, banners, what have you, your logo has to be able to shift in size and complexity to accommodate. I'll bring up an example. There's this small indie company, they're called Disney, maybe you've heard of them. They own everything. So Disney's logo can be as elaborate or simple as it needs to be. For the primary, you have the word mark, the castle, the whole deal. But removing the castle simplifies it without making it any less recognizable because the word mark is identifiable in its own right. And Disney's unique font lets you strip the logo down to just a D letter mark and still anyone will tell you it's Disney. Alternatively, Disney's Mickey Mouse brand mark is probably the most successful logo in the world. These are just 3 circles, but they're recognized worldwide and can fit anywhere. And here's where we come back to the oversimplified logo fiasco, because a lot of the time the logos they'll use as evidence of the minimalist trend infecting corporations worldwide are just corporate logos stripped down to their brand marks or their otherwise simplest forms. I need to stress that rebranding isn't something a company just does on a whim. It's hard work and it takes a lot of company resources. A lot of study in marketing and design theory goes into it to make sure companies aren't risking rebranding beyond recognition and alienating customers. The logistics alone that go into carrying out a rebrand make it hardly worth the trouble. This isn't some new phenomenon, logos are just adapting with the times, it's smart design. Making your logos more adaptable is smart design. I know we're attached to the WB logo on the left because some of our favorite movies growing up opened up on it, but it just doesn't print as well on a business card as the one on the right. But what about these, you might be asking? Those are responsive and they're still bad. And yeah, they are. In fact, they're one of the truly awful ones I was talking about earlier, but they're not bad because they're minimalist. Google itself has a minimalist logo, but it's successful and responsive. You have a simple word mark that can be simplified even further into a letter mark, recognizable just by how colorful it is. And the workspace logos were fine too. You can make the argument that these are what Google should have stuck with. The colors were mostly derived from the brand mark, so they all look like they belong to the Google brand, but were still distinct from one another. But Google got carried away with the colors and that foldy thing the Drive logo does, and now everything looks like the Drive logo and they have the exact same color scheme as the G brand mark. This is what happens when a brand prioritizes unity over readability. So yes, now they all definitely look like Google products, but what any of them were used for isn't readily apparent anymore. They're no longer distinct, and seeing them in the same place just causes your eyes to kind of blur them together in a rainbow mess. Because this is the absolute last thing you do when your brand mark consists of 4 colors. It's way too busy. This is an actual problem that affects user friendliness, because anyone who isn't familiar with Gmail or Google Meet or Google Docs in particular will have no idea what this is supposed to represent. Nickelodeon started on the opposite extreme and they had to unify. I mean, there's no reason they couldn't have kept the splat in their new logo, but none of these even look a little similar to each other. You can kind of see why they had to make a change. It'd be kind of refreshing to see more discussion about this stuff instead of just, oh no, they got rid of the drop shadow in the McDonald's logo. Oh no, they abstracted that browser I don't use. Oh no, they changed the MasterCard logo from 2 circles meeting in the middle to 2 circles meeting in the middle. Well class, I hope you all learned something today. Minimalism is not a conspiracy out to ruin your childhood, and rebranding isn't something corporations just do for funsies. They're just adapting in accordance to marketing trends and overall cost effectiveness. It's just capitalism, guys. Hopefully you can see why a lot of these oversimplified logos really aren't worth all the outrage now. Especially when the logo they changed it from was oversimplified to begin with. God damn.